This is literally, people use incredible all the time. This is incredible, but this is incredible. I get to have a conversation with the one and only effortlessly funny Matt Falk. Matt, how you doing today?
Thank you. Legally, I do have to say that there are three of me.
Okay.
2 years ago, during the pandemic, I had myself legally cloned.
Nice.
So one of my clones broke all the laws, did all the public shows, didn't care, really went off the deep end. It was difficult to watch, I'll be honest with you. The other clone was very focused on online stuff, and the third one was just there for just marketing, big picture kind of thing.
Nice.
So there are three. It's not one and only. It is three now.
No, well, tell me one of them was for parts though. Is that usually there's always one just
There's
for
always
parts.
a spare.
Yeah.
I do know which one of my clones I'm going to use for spares.
Right.
I don't like to say it out loud because if they find out, it gets weird. But
Yeah,
I'll tell you
that's
now,
right.
it's the crazy one that did all the illegal shows.
That's right. Well, that's great. Well, it's great to see your shiny, happy face. You know, your gleaming, happy face. I know
Is it
that,
too shiny? Because I did try to. Okay.
It is the right kind of shine. You guys,
Okay, good.
you do it right.
Because this forehead is well, James, you know what I'm talking about.
I don't want to. I don't want to start measuring foreheads here, but if we were, I kind of got you beat.
We got the split screen. Let's put them right beside each other.
There we go. Yeah. Okay.
Hey, you move towards the camera. That's not fair.
Oh, that's
anyway.
right.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk with you too, my friend.
Well, this is incredible because as we've been talking, quietly off camera, February 3rd in Chatham, Ontario, which typically, weather-wise is gray, is not great. We're sick of winter. So February 3rd is a time that the happy villagers of Chatham can't get to enjoy an evening of your comedy, which is just, we're excited. We're so excited.
I agree. And you know what? Here's the thing too, is I'm from Manitoba. So it's even worse in Manitoba. That's the only reason I agreed to do this show in Chatham is because the weather is so much better in February than it is in Manitoba. I agreed for many other reasons. Maybe I shouldn't say that.
Sure. No, that's good.
Are people watching? Do they have a sense of humor? Who's your audience base?
Well, it depends on where they're watching us. If they're watching us on Facebook, they're usually pretty easygoing. YouTube, good. They're different. We're a different kind of group anyway. So we speak to everybody.
Sure. Okay, good.
Well, the reaction I've had as we've been promoting the show, the February 3rd show in Chatham, has been nothing but sort of everything from like, I just heard him on the Debaters the other day. I'm like, yeah, and other people just saying, oh, thank goodness there's going to be a comedy show. I think I've heard of that guy. So it's your reputation precedes you, which is amazing. As a fan and as a friend, seeing you on and knowing your connection with CBC is amazing. It's amazing. Yeah. That's not for slouches.
Well, you always have a lot of respect for an organization, like the Debaters I listened to forever, Laugh Out Loud, I've listened to forever, the CBC Winnipeg Comedy Festival, all these things, Halifax Comedy Festival. I had such respect for them growing up. And then there is something that happens when they invite you to be a part of it, when you go, maybe they're not so great after all. maybe the standards have started to lax a little bit. Could they really be that great if I'm invited? Like, honestly.
Is that kind of never meet your heroes kind of thing?
No, they've been wonderful. Yeah, but the Debaters specifically. So I listened to the Debaters non-stop. I love it. And I was always like trying to like plant seeds with the producers. Like, I exist. But then one day I started hearing like mumbles and like rumors and like just whispers through the wind of people saying, there's kind of a debate we think you'd be good for, and through comedians, through other comedians, and it was just like, really, seriously, what's happening? And then I just kind of kept like asking questions, and then one day they had me on, and then I've done 3 Debaters episodes now, and that's every single time, I feel like I have to pinch myself because it's really cool getting to do a show that you've admired so much as a fan.
That's fantastic. I know there's some people watching this saying Debaters. And we go like, the Debaters. It's on CBC. It's
a very Canadian thing, but it's this awesome comedy format where 2 comedians debate each other about really ridiculous topics, and it's great.
Right. And I won't get you to explain as a fan of the Debaters things like, is it all pre-written? Do you just read these things? So don't even go there. Well, that's maybe another podcast kind of thing.
All right,
take some of the mystique away, because I'm thinking, these guys, how do they do this right off the cuff?
I don't want to take any mystique away, but Steve Patterson is a robot. He's totally AI at this point. If you listen to the episodes, you can hear the progression of the AI getting smarter and smarter. And last time I was recording, I was out in Stratford, Ontario, recording an episode, and he turned and he started attacking some of the comics. They had to hose him down. It was a whole thing, but still very, very funny. Very funny.
His face comes off like a hinge, like
that's right. There's a tiny little alien inside controlling it. Yeah,
right. But he's not a fembot. But that's
right. That's a different
70s reference. That's long ago. Well, you mentioned what as a kid you enjoyed the debaters. You've obviously enjoyed comedy probably since you were just taking your first gasp of breath. Probably. Can you share with folks that are watching this, because I find this fascinating. I think other people will. Your comedy career basically started when?
Yeah, really, really early. So I count my official start in stand-up comedy at 17 years old. Wow. But I started performing, and this sounds kind of like in bad taste, but just to give you an idea, I started performing, entertaining for money when I was 15, 16 years old already. So I was already getting paid, which it was insane because my show wasn't that good. I was doing magic at the time.
Oh, wow. Okay. You weren't sure which way to go. Magic.
I wasn't sure.
Together.
Yeah, that's right. And then I started putting them together. And then eventually I just abandoned the magic, stopped performing for children entirely because it's way more difficult, and just focused on performing for adults. But yeah, I was obsessed with watching Just for Laughs. I was obsessed with all of the TV shows, all the comedy shows, all the reruns that kept airing all the time. And I memorized them. And I would buy these, I would go to HMV and buy these comedy specials where other kids were obsessed with music and listening to all the new songs. I was obsessed with comedy. I was just like I would buy the new Robin Williams and the new Ellen DeGeneres, and then I discovered Eddie Izzard, and then Brian Regan and Jerry Seinfeld, and it's just my repertoire and my taste just started growing and growing. And so my first shows at like school talent shows, and I was just kind of stealing other comics' jokes. I would like blend a little bit of Robin Williams and Jerry Seinfeld and Ellen DeGeneres and do all these different things. And then I started.
You've had, sorry to interrupt you, and even as a young person, you had that voice, your voice of the Aladdin cave.
Well, that was doing that.
The only one may enter here. The diamond in the rough.
It was like a gimmick that you develop in high school and stuff like that, in junior high to get laughs, and then you realize later on, oh, I can get laughs from large groups of people, and then even later you go, I can get paid for this. So I slowly started writing my own material. I started writing jokes about my teachers, and I would do stuff like that, and then it just kind of slowly evolved. And by the time I graduated, I was regularly performing stand-up comedy in clubs and corporate events. I did get other jobs. I worked as they're called character servers at a dinner theater here in Winnipeg, at Celebrations Dinner Theater. They have one in Calgary and Edmonton too. It's called Jubilations out there. And then I worked at a radio station. And then it was in 2011. So I was 21, 22. I quit everything because I was like, I think I can
quit everything.
Yeah, quit everything. And I just thought, I think I can do this live. I think I can do this for a full-time thing, and been doing it full-time ever since.
That's so great. So you go from high school, you're already self-educating yourself, and then your postgraduate studies, you continue, and you've been a student of comedy ever since. But it's amazing.
Because the thing kids come to me all the time and they want to be comedians, and parents come to me and they say, my son wants to be a comedian. Can you please talk him out of it? And the advice I always give is you have to just get on stage, just go and do it. You'll be terrible in the beginning, and then eventually you'll start getting a little bit better and a little bit better. So the earlier you start in comedy, theoretically, the better you get, the faster. So starting so early was just like a really big advantage for me. The problem I had, James McNeil, is that I was known as being a young comic
Right. Sure.
And I was respected for being a young comic. So when you're 17 and you have basically been smuggled into a comedy club because you're not even allowed to be there.
Right.
And you're performing comedy. People are laughing and clapping because you're forming sentences that sound like jokes. They're going, this is incredible. I literally had my first manager called me a prodigy. You know, Ron James, the wonderful Ron James, he was quoted. He performed right after me, and he had a difficult time following me. That was the biggest thrill of my life. And the line he said was, "Oh, sure, make me follow the genius, child." And I was just like, oh, my word. But that's the thing. Wow. I was so young and it was pretty good. So it felt even better. I distinctly remember hitting a wall in my 20s when I was like, oh, I can no longer rely on being young. I have to compete with the adults.
Sure.
And it took me a couple years. There was a big chunk of time where it was really difficult for me to kind of figure out where I stand now in this new bigger pond. So it has its advantages and it can also have its disadvantages. But
interesting dynamic. Yeah, all of a sudden, like, well, I'm shaving every day now, and so are the other comedians.
That was never a problem.
Okay.
This. Can you see this?
Yeah.
This is the first time in my life any amount of facial hair has ever stuck itself to my face. Wow. I am thrilled that I'm finally going through puberty. It's just wonderful. But I never shaved, and I never had any sort of inkling that there was anything going on, except for the neck beard. It was very Mennonite for a while. It was just a neck thing.
Kind of a Mose. Yeah. We all know Mose in Ontario.
That's right. Yeah. Very good reference.
Well, you mentioned, it's funny, you mentioned Mennonite, and I met you years ago, and that was kind of almost like part of kind of woven into your material, because that's your background, and it seems like a comfortable context to come from. But when sometimes people hear Mennonite, they think, what does he have, a horse and buggy? Well, that's Amish, right? Or the old order, whatnot. But you're the new kind.
I talked about it because it was who I was, and then it was also like really relatable to the audience I was performing in front of, which was Southeastern Manitoba. And then I kind of let it fall by the wayside. And then a producer approached me, and they wanted to make a documentary about Mennonite humor called That Mennonite Joke, which is it's still on YouTube.
It's excellent. Watch it, people. Watch it.
Thank you. Yeah. And then we made this documentary, and then after that, it kind of reinvigorated my desire to do Mennonite humor. I realized, okay, I shouldn't just stop because I'm performing all over the country and all over in the States and stuff like that. I should work harder to make it relatable to everybody. You know. Yeah. Jewish people have done such an incredible job, Jewish comedians and performers, of taking their culture and like making it accessible to everybody. And they've been so good at that. So I'm just like, if I can even do that to like a 10% of what they're doing, then, you know, I could maybe have something here. So I've been bringing it back more and more in my act as of late.
Awesome. Well, I know you've been in this area, the southern tip of Canada, we're called, the Chatham.
Yeah. By the way, I love performing in Chatham. I've been there just a handful of times, not nearly enough, but every single time I've come to Chatham, I have had an incredible time. Also because you, sir, live in Chatham, and whether people listening to this not know this or not, you are a phenomenal stand-up comedian who unfortunately is also really good at his real job. So you, just because you're like an expert and known all over the place for being wonderful at what you do, suddenly you don't have time to, you know, muck about with us lowlifes, but you are incredible, and you're coming to the show and you're going to open.
I'm gonna warm the crowd up for you.
I cannot wait.
Like an older uncle would sort of like, you know, roll back the covers for a. That's getting weird. That's too weird.
I don't know where that went.
That was. I'm very excited to do comedy with you. We did a little tour together. Well, a few years ago now, maybe 6 years ago. Anyway, it was I came across the promo the other day. They were these little handbills, our two headshots together. And it says something like a different kind of date night. It like literally said that. So like, what is this thing that you were part of? Like kids were like, what? Like, no, it was comedy, but you know.
I think our styles, our comedic styles blend really, really well together, actually. Because you have this great kind of like understated presence on stage. And yet the stuff you're talking about is so out there. And then, but yet you like present it as if like just anybody off the street is just coming to you, talking to you about these crazy, and then you're so relentless in your punchlines. You're just like boom, 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 and it's like if you've never seen him live, it's really quite a thing to watch. I don't want to set you up too much.
Sure,
Maybe I should do the other way. He's terrible. I haven't seen a show where he hasn't tanked it.
Well, it's funny. You've already said a couple things that you'll have no way of knowing this until I say it now. That you had said, I'd heard you say once, and I thought I locked it away because I'm watching your comedy thinking this guy is incredible. But you had said something like, until you're, at least 100 times at the mic, you're probably going to suck. Yeah. And I'm a handful of times I'm thinking at this point. And so I literally started counting because I had an opportunity for several years in a row to do a regular kind of appearances at places. So I literally started, 47. Tonight is 49, that I think, and I remember my 100th night, and I said it to the host. I said, this is my 100th time at the mic. Wow. And the guys were like, this guy's counting, I guess it's his 100th time. But I just thought in my mind, well, Matt was right. Yeah, you're going to be loose. You're not going to know your craft yet. But so yeah, until you hit that 100, thanks to Matt Falk, like you got to get.
I'm sorry, I gave you such an arbitrary number. I'm sorry that it was so
it was
high.
Round. It was very round. I look like I'm 100 now. This is
what if I would have said 1,000? Would you have just given up?
Well, he said 1,000. He's Mennonite. I guess they know everything, and yeah.
We do.
That wisdom. Something that with the and most people won't know this either. You and I, we didn't do a lot of interacting at this point, but there was Leland Clausen's would have been the second installment of it was a comedy tournament, which is incredible undertaking. Yeah. I want to say, what was it, 25? It was a whole pile, a platoon of comedians. Yeah. And it was kind of like last comic standing kind of thing. I'm talking to because you know the story here.
Yeah.
But we have an incredible connection on that because when you've got all of these people, comedian after comedian, 3 celebrity judges, I got to be the very first one voted off, and you got to be the winner. We were like bookends. It was beautiful. It was amazing. Like I had a chance against you anyway, but I remember thinking that the first night, thinking like, I wonder who the loser is going to be. The first one voted off. You're like the first guy on Survivor. Who's that loser going to be? And like, oh, it's me. But
I actually don't remember that, and that truly surprises me. I remember working with you then, but I don't remember you being the first one voted off. I
think you had your helicopter hadn't even brought you to the venue yet. You were still kind of held in a secluded area, and then your agent showed up. And
this was back when if I was entering comedy tournaments, I don't think I would have had a helicopter, but it was my toy helicopter. I remember I always went everywhere with my toy helicopter.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
I'm really very particular about my toy helicopter.
Yeah. Well, listen, I know you're a busy guy.
I'm very busy. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah.
Oh, you weren't. I thought that was it.
That was it's my wrap up. The last time you were in Chatham, do you even recall? It was a bigger venue? It was a smaller venue? Do you recall?
It was the Capitol Theater. Is that right?
That's a gorgeous. Anyone?
Wait, is that Guelph?
Don't you dare. No, the Capitol Theater only exists in Chatham, Ontario.
Yeah. I think it was the Capitol Theater, and that was it was
a big show. It was big.
Yeah. That was a ton of fun.
You even at one point you were playing piano. Am I remembering? Yeah, I think you were experimenting with. I think I'll play some piano as part of the set.
It's the way you're describing it is as if you had some sort of terrible food and you fell asleep, and you're like, I had this dream that Matt Falk was playing piano. He was in Chatham at the Capitol Theater, and there was a piano there, and then a leprechaun jumped on the thing. Yeah, and he was a Mennonite. I don't know. It was like a Mennonite in a piano. What does it mean?
Right. But so you're saying I'm correct that
you are correct. Yes, I played piano. So I love. So another comedian that I was obsessed with growing up is a comedian that nobody knows about. His name is Tom Lehrer. I mean, everybody knows about him. He's very famous, but he's not mainstream accessible. He was a musical political comedian from the 60s. And for some reason, as a teenager, I latched on. I just adored this style of comedy. He was so funny, so cutting edge, and yet he didn't hit the topics that everyone would expect him to hit. He was very, very cool that way. And this is how such a dork I am. a musical comedian from the 60s. He was so cool. So cool. Everyone's listening to like Bono and whatever the cool people actually are. Anyway, so when I see a piano on stage, I want to pretend to be the people that got me into this industry.
Nice.
You know what I mean?
Like a built-in tribute.
Yeah, when I sit down and I'm playing, because that's all I'm doing when I'm performing anyways. I'm just playing pretend. I'm living out these childhood fantasies of mine of being a comedian. It's what I've always wanted to do. Yeah. And then so to sit at a piano and to feel like Tom Lehrer in a beautiful theater with a spotlight on me, I mean, there's just really nothing better than that. To feel like, man, I'm really doing the thing I dreamed about doing when I was a kid. And what a privilegey thing to say. Most people don't get this opportunity, but it's when you're sitting in it, it's pretty special. I don't know how much longer I'll have the opportunity. This might be it. This show in Chatham might be the final show.
So what you're saying, people are hearing that going like, what did he just say? The last show in his career?
I'm always on the verge of retiring.
You never know.
Very close.
You never know. So what I hear you saying clearly though is you're living the dream. You're living the dream.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't always feel like the dream when you're in it, because
right.
there's a lot to show business, that most people don't know about, and we don't want them to know about it, because we want them just to have fun and relax. But it can be a lot. But then in the moments that you kind of sit down and kind of look at it, and those special moments when you're in it, like on February 3rd, when I'm there at the John D. Bradley Convention Center in Chatham, and the lights are dimmed and I'm on stage and I'm with the wonderful people in Ontario. It's in those moments you forget about all the other stuff that's involved in the industry, and you're just there in the present moment with them. And that's the cool thing, is you're having a moment that can never be replicated. It's live, it's right there. And yeah, that's why I still love it, because in all the stress, you have the live show and all that washes away, and you're just there with the audience. And I can't wait to do that in Chatham.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love it. Well, a couple other things before I let you go here.
Please.
There's many different levels of comedy fans out there. Some people are just kind of, I just want to laugh, and it could be, Henny Youngman, George Carlin, or the most caustic, comedian you've ever heard in your life. They don't sort of put them in categories. Yeah. Other people have a personal preference of they like to laugh, but
they have a style they like.
Or even a craft, language craft. Like say there's a Jerry Seinfeld, who's the red-haired guy? Oh my
Carrot
goodness.
Top?
Not Carrot Top. Catholic guy who got 15 kids. Oh my goodness. He's
Jim Gaffigan?
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, Jim Gaffigan. It's guys that are like extremely funny, but after you watch their set, you say, wait a minute. I don't think he swore once. And not that maybe that's a gauge for some people, but for some people it is. And anyone that was ever curious would know that when you do your material on the CBC, you don't have like a blue version, the club version, the church version, the Wednesday night version. You have the Matt Falk version. And
I do have a Wednesday night version. I do. That is the one, like you mentioned, Wednesday nights, then it's just I wear just a t-shirt, and it's just it's very like edgy. It's very like like very grunge comedy that I like to do.
Right.
No, it's all the same. Yeah, and here's the thing about comedy: it's all about authenticity. You have to be who you are, otherwise it doesn't work on stage. That's right. I don't really swear in real life, and so it wouldn't really work on stage. I have to be true to I did find this, James McNeil. I found there's 2 times in my life when I curse.
Ooh.
Can I tell you when those are?
Yeah.
So there's 2 very specific times I've discovered this. It's when I hurt myself in a very, very big pain, very unexpectedly. That's the first time. And the second time I curse, exactly. And the second time I curse is anytime there is a global pandemic and in the 2 years following it. So in that chunk, those 2 moments of life,
that's reasonable. I
curse like a sailor. So no, but it's always been my comedy styling. I've always been a clean comic, but I pride myself on just being funny, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
This is just my personality, and it just is what it is on stage. I had a guy, I was headlining a comedy club in Ottawa, and I'm leaving the club quickly because I don't like people. And as I'm walking away, he approaches me and he's like, hey, you swore, right? And I said, no, I don't swear on stage. And he goes, no, you did, right? And I'm like, no. And he goes,
couldn't believe it.
It felt like you swore. Yeah. And I love that compliment because if I don't know what it is, because there's an intensity you watch all these different comedians. There's an intensity that sometimes you don't get with, of a clean comic. But what he was basically saying is there was an intensity there that made it feel like you were swearing on stage, but you weren't. So
that is a high level.
I've treasured that little comment for many years.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. Well, you said the authenticity. If
you got to be yourself.
Regular parlance, as they say, doesn't include
who says that? Who says regular parlance?
Well, old people. I do.
Pirates.
Yeah. So you don't swear in your regular life, then hey, and you're also a father. I doubt you want your kids finding some vintage YouTube clips like, oh, Dad.
Yeah, it's funny that you say that too, because children do have a role to play in it as well. Because I loved stand-up comedy growing up, and there's whatever you believe, there's just certain things a child should not be listening to. Okay. Yeah. It's just, you need to maintain a level of innocence as long as you can with children. And it's just good for humanity. Yeah. And so I love the fact that kids can listen to my comedy and I'm not, influencing them in any sort of way. I'm just making them laugh. And parents approach me all the time and tell me that, that something came up, that the kids listen to my comedy, and it really makes me happy because that's what I did. So if I can provide that for families and for kids as well, that's a really cool little added bonus. It's not the main thing I'm thinking about, but it does stop me sometimes when I go, this would be really funny. And then I remember that sweet little kid that approached me and got me to sign something. And I go, I don't want them hearing that. Yeah. I want them to keep listening. So so it makes me edit, but that's good.
That's higher level stuff for sure. My own personal children adore your comedy, and I do also. But we laugh at different levels because you have a multi-leveled. It's like a beautiful comedy cake. Your comedy, right? And so they're laughing at one thing because the way you said it, I'm laughing at like the bigger concept, and so it's brilliant. You're a brilliant young man. And
that's very kind. I remember too I listened to Robin Williams a lot when I was a kid. And there were so many jokes that I did not get at all. And the references I did not understand. And because he just uses references, like he's just pulling them out of his hat. And then, but I would laugh.
As a kid, you're hearing the audience laugh, thinking like, it must have been funny.
And then you laugh. And then all of a sudden you start learning like stuff. Even with Tom Lehrer, I know so much about 60s politics just from listening to the punchlines. And then I was like, oh, okay. I think what's his name? Oh no, never mind. It doesn't matter. I was gonna try to show how much I knew about 60s politics, and then I couldn't remember one thing. Oh, I'm such a loser.
That's great. Well, listen, Matt, I know you got a busy life. You showbiz types. You're going, you're moving, you're shaking. You probably got a diaper to change or something like that. And not your own, of course.
Oh, not my own. Oh,
no,
okay.
Not your own.
I was like, can you smell it from here? But I was very surprised.
I imagine you probably have an assistant for that, and
that's right.
Something like that.
They're waiting in my helicopter.
I'm getting over a thing here. I'll be well by February 3rd.
Trust me, I hope so.
I'll be well. I'll be very well.
Yeah.
But listen, thanks so much for your time. February 3rd, Chatham, Ontario, John D. Bradley Center. Gorgeous facility. They're excited. They've been pushing the show themselves. They don't even know you, but they know me and they trust me. They said, he must be funny because James would not bring in someone that's not exceptionally funny. I said, you're right. So the whole town of Chatham, we're hoping is going to come out in droves, like not with pitchforks, but just they're going to come out.
Honestly, if we charge them admission, I don't really care.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll win them over.
That's right. You will. Calm the crowds there. But any last parting thoughts before the next time we see you is live and in person?
No, other than if you're excited about the show and you want to come and tell your friends, share it with some other people. That's I would love to pack the center out and have a nice full showing. The shows are just so much more fun that way. And I legitimately, and I'm not just saying this, I do a lot of stuff everywhere. But I'm legitimately looking forward to coming back to Chatham. I can't wait.
Awesome. Well, we say kudos and cheers and super happy. And all the best to your beautiful wife and children. And
thank you.
We'll be talking to you soon.
Awesome. Thanks, James. Can't wait.
Matt. We'll see you.
Bye.